Welcome to News West 9's West Texas View with Johnny Lou Avery.
Welcome to the West Texas View. I'm Johnny Lou Avery, and last Sunday you were introduced to Judy Warren and Preston Chancellor, who are employees who run the Midland-Odessa AIDS Area Support Group. And they have very interesting stories individually that brought them to this work. And we hear so little about AIDS anymore. And as I said last week, about 10 years ago, we had our first program about AIDS. And some of the feedback I got then told me that we needed to have a lot more programs about this, because this is something that changes a whole family's life when it invades your family, and it really destroys lives. And Judy incorporated MAAS, Midland-Odessa Area AIDS Support Group, when her brother contracted AIDS, when nobody knew anything about it. It was a very, very new disease, and there was so much fear and so much stigma around it that they were really ostracized. And they weren't, but a lot of families were run out of towns, and they lost their jobs, and they were shunned by their neighbors and their friends, and even disowned by their families. And so we've come a long way, but we still need a lot of work to be done to prevent it, because we still have lots and lots of young people and older people. Almost, they said at both ends of the scale, the very young and the very old are growing the fastest in the AIDS cases reported. So Judy needs to give us a little bit of history first about how, after her brother died, then how she took AIDS into incorporation and then growing it. And you were telling me off camera that you were treated very favorably by First Presbyterian and given an office. But then the breakthrough came when the Methodist minister called you.
Well, after seeing my brother suffer for 4.5 years, going blind, losing his mind and everything, we had no one to talk to during that period, no one. And so
even doctors didn't know enough about it too.
Not at all. And I woke up one day and just realized I saw myself as being very selfish. I realized that I was trying to be my brother's all, while I was hiding him in his room, and he was just waiting to die. And so I broke my silence the last year of his life and went to my church, First Presbyterian, and talked to one of the ministers there. And I did not know when I went, but what would be run out of town, because the fear was so great. I mean, and you can imagine what the fear was for the families. When my brother almost died the first time and was on a breathing machine for a month and a half and everything, he told me one day, they're letting me out of the hospital, but I can't walk, I can't work, I can't drive, I don't know what I'm going to do. Will you take care of me, Judy? And I said, yes, honey, I will. And I remember leaving his hospital room that day thinking, oh my God, I am a dead woman. And so,
because you thought, just touching him, I may contract
we
it.
Did back in the early days. And so that was one of the worst fears of my life, but it was one of the greatest gifts to me in my life also, to learn that even if I might get something and die myself, I loved him that
enough
much
for the sacrifice.
to take that risk and to sacrifice my life.
Because they knew so little about how it was contracted.
Very little.
At that time, they thought it was just gays or drugs, needles. And so your brother contracted it through heterosexual,
through sex.
And I think it'd be nice you said you found things out about yourself. And we talk about true love with the kids in the schools, but you found out a little bit more about true love with your husband.
Oh,
Because of it.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah, tell that.
Well, I tell the kids when I go in the schools, I talk to them about true love, and I tell them the true story of when my brother asked me if I would take care of him. And girls especially sit there and just cry and cry. And I tell them how I went home to my husband, Ron, and I said, Larry's getting out of the hospital and I have to take care of him. And I remember Ron said, I've been waiting for that one, because he knew he leaned on me more than anybody. And I said, but I've thought a lot about this, and I mean, we really thought we would get it and die. And I said, I can't bring him into this house because this is your home too. And so, only thing I know to do, I'm going to put him in an apartment around the corner. I'm not going to disrupt your life and destroy your life. I said, and you'll just have to know I'm going to be gone a lot, and I'm going to be over there taking care of him. And I tell the kids, I'll never forget my husband's words on that day. He said, wow, honey, you've come up with a good plan. And I started crying, and I said, it's the only plan I could think of. He said, well, it's a good one. He said, but you know what? It's not the one we're going to live by. I said, it's not. He said, no. He said, when we married for better and for worse. And we married for the rest of our lives. He said, so you're going to bring Larry into this house. We're going to take care of him together. And if we both get HIV, we'll just die together. And it is not uncommon for me to tell that story, talking about what true love is. And the girls many times in unison go, oh, you know, and I tell them that true love is out there waiting for you.
And it's not at 13.
And it's not now. It's out. They're out there waiting for you. They're made just for you. And they're going to love you more than you've ever been loved in your whole life. Don't miss out on getting to that right person by trying to be popular and trying to be grown up right now. And I cannot tell you how many come. I had a young girl just yesterday come, and she was beautiful, and she wanted to be tested, and she started crying, and she said, I don't know why I'm crying. And I said, it's okay. And she said, it was so stupid. I was so stupid. And I want to wait for that right person. So we know we're making a difference and saving many of these young people's lives.
Okay. We're going to have to take a break, but Preston, thank you for interjecting that, because that is a sweet story, and it's so true that it has to transmit to those young people. We'll be back in just a minute and continue this conversation.
Stay tuned. West Texas View will be right back.